I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Here's another clip with Simon Phillips. What about Jeff Beck? What was that experience like, and how did that happen?
I have to thank Max Middleton for that. Jeff looking for another drummer. So he had finished playing with Jan and that band, with Fernando Saunders. It'll come to me. And then he was looking for a new band. Went down to Jeff's house in Surrey, Sussex. Can't remember. And we had a little play. I think the bass player was John Giblin, and Max Middleton was playing keyboards. So, and that went well. He asked me back, but didn't ask John. And then he booked me for some sessions, which was with Jan Hammer. And no bass player, just Jeff, Jan, and myself. And so the manager asked me, he said, well, who do you recommend and what studio do you recommend for as a studio and engineer? And I went, wow, okay. I said, well, I'd just done quite a bit of work at Ramport. And I said, I think Ramport is a great room. That's Pete Townshend's room at the time. And John Punter was a great engineer, an Air Studios guy. He now lives, I think he lives in Toronto or somewhere in Canada. But great engineer back in the 70s. Did loads of records, but I can't name them right now. But I'm sure you would have listened to plenty of his records. And we went into the studio and recorded 4 or 5 tracks, which were Jan's compositions. And that's how that started. And then he said, I'm going to ask Stanley Clarke over. We're going to do a tour of Japan, and I'd like you to play. And that was it.
What was that like? That must have been pretty cool.
Oh, it was amazing to play with Stanley. I was a huge Stanley fan. Yeah. And it's funny. I'll never forget this. I brought my whole kit, my Octoplus, and he's very tall. He's like a basketball player, and I'm very small. So, hello. And I was pretty nervous. And I'm in a room with Stanley, with Jeff, and I'm pretty sure Mac, because I couldn't think who else would be on keyboards, frankly. Right. So Stanley pulled up a stool and put it right by my left bass drum and sat, but with his back to me. So I was kind of looking at his kind of side, his back 3/4. And so it was like, here we are. Here's the rhythm section. Here's the drummer. Here's the bass player. That was his thing. And I was like, that's cool. He's never played with me before. And he's just pulled up right there. So we start playing. And we play things like School Days, a couple of songs that Stanley and Jeff had played together, recorded together, maybe Blue Wind or some. I can't really remember the songs. I do remember School Days. And luckily I knew the song. After we stopped, like the first tune, or a couple of tunes, Stanley hadn't said anything. He turns and he puts his hand on my 10-inch drum and says, I like the way you tune your drums. That's all he said. And I hope that's a compliment. And continued the rest of the rehearsal just like that, almost like we had been a rhythm section for months or years, And that was it. But he was very friendly, and and then before I know it, he's calling me for his band after we did a tour of Japan. So we had a great relationship, and still do. I see him occasionally. We bump into each other at different festivals around the world. We actually had dinner. It was a few years ago, 2017. I happened to be in LA and just called him and said, Stanley, we haven't sat down for dinner for years, probably since 1980. And he said, hey, let's do it. And we had a lovely time, absolutely lovely time. Lots of memories and very cool.
The
very
Protocol cool. Box set, what was that like for you? Because you're looking at a body of work at that point. Yeah.
The tricky thing for me was, due to very limited record budgets, or none, I'm financing the whole project. I only got a record budget for Symbiosis, Another Lifetime, Out of the Blue, and the jazz one, Vantage Point. But everything else, the live album, Force Majeure, but everything else I financed. All of the Protocol series, basically, I've always financed myself. I've never had time, or never had the compositions, to do outtakes. So I've had I have no tracks lying around that were not used.
Right.
So that posed a huge problem. I really wanted to do it. I felt it was time to do something like this. It was also, if you think about it, out of necessity, because, I'd lost my house, couldn't write or record a record. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I couldn't even write music. I mean, I was going through a lot of personal stuff at the time. So I felt I really, now having embarked on the solo career, I need to get something out there. What can I do? And I said, I'd love to put a box set together. And I chose to just keep it to Protocol, the Protocol brand, as it were, without the other stuff, because I do think it's different. So the one thing I do, and I remember this from Pete Townsend, he used to release demos as albums. I make very, very concise demos, full production demos. And I thought that would be really fun for people to listen to. Now, it was really tough because I'd lost many hard drives and my main computer, which still had hard drives in it, which had a lot of, thankfully, I'd backed up a lot of the recent stuff and the demos, but I didn't have the demos of some of the earlier stuff. And I had to go through my iTunes on my laptop, which I had. Mm-hmm. No DATs, no tapes. I mean, they've all gone. I did find some CDs, which were in, but it took a hell of a sleuthing to go all through the drives that I still had to find demos, and I had to kind of remake some of them in terms of, I found the MIDI files. Mm-hmm. I had to regenerate them. I found some, for example, I think this is what it was. I was using, at that time, I was using two computers. One was Pro Tools, one was Logic. All the MIDI was on Logic. All the audio, which was only the drum kit, was in Pro Tools. So I would find the demo, but only the drum part. I went, oh no, there's no music. So then I scout through. Now MIDI files are very small, so I think they were on a drive. I managed to find the drive. One of the newer drives somehow must have transferred it, and I found the MIDI. So I had to bring them into Pro Tools, reroute everything so they would play, and then somehow marry the two, the drum kit and the MIDI. But of course, they were different arrangements. So it was quite a bit of staggering work to do.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Some of the mixes I did find multi-tracks of the demos, and I was able to just remix them a little bit so they were a little more listenable because they were pretty, But essentially, the demos on these two albums in the box set are still the original demos.
Where do we send people to pick that up?
Right, here's the problem. But again, self-financed. It is incredibly expensive to produce that package. I mean, incredibly.
Do you make any money on it?
Huh?
Can you make money on it?
You know what? I haven't worked it out yet.
Okay.
I know that sounds crazy, but I haven't actually sat down and done the figures. I have broken even, definitely.
Okay.
I probably have. Frankly, when I did the initial release, I undersold it. I priced it way too low. Alliance, who my distributors, thought that would be a good price. And then I spoke to a lot of people, and they said, this is way, way too low. And I went, shit. So, yeah, I probably didn't make money on the first batch. I did 2 batches of 1,000 each, so that's 2,000 copies. Okay. And they've all gone.
Okay.
Right now, it's just a question of being able to afford to make the... I can't do anything under 1,000, otherwise it would be too expensive.
Yeah.
So in order to be able to sell it, and I cannot justify 1,000 and being able to sell, I could probably maybe sell 200. So I'm holding the baby. And fortunate that, it's just business. And it really is a limited...
You have no idea how often I've heard what you just said.
Yeah. A box set. I mean, those boxes, the logistic, it took a year. It was a year in the making. And with the girl that handles all the CD replication and all the printing, I mean, it's stunning. She had 1,000 boxes delivered and had to send them back. Said these are all wrong.
Oh my God.
They were just badly printed. I think the boxes are manufactured in China. I don't know where the booklet is manufactured. The CDs themselves are manufactured here in the US, but and she has to put it all together.
Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking and therefore expensive. So it was a tough one. It was a really tough one, and a tough decision to make, because I think I literally have 2 down there, and that's all I have.
Okay.
So it's a shame, but in a way it makes it a very limited and collectible item. Mm-hmm. So,
Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And buy a t-shirt, help support our channel. Link in the description of this video. I'm John Beaudin from Rocky Street Music.